The first indicators of the Great Unraveling were insidious, easily dismissed. On the crystalline world of Xylos Prime, in the Riven Concord's meticulously ordered beta quadrant, the famed singing crystals, whose resonant frequencies had been stable for millennia, began to waver, their harmonies souring into discordant screeches that caused physical pain to the Xylosian natives. Concord scientists, after exhaustive study, labeled it a localized geological anomaly, a minor curiosity. In the Hydrus cluster, the blue supergiant Icarus Prime, a star that had burned with unwavering brilliance for eons, flickered erratically, its output dimming and surging in ways that defied all stellar models. Fleets dependent on its predictable energy for jump point calculations found themselves dangerously miscalibrated. Again, the Riven Concord's official stance was one of isolated, unfortunate astrophysical decay. But Dr. Aris Thorne, a Terran, xenoarchaeolinguist whose theories often found more purchase in obscure historical journals than in mainstream galactic symposia, saw a pattern. From his cluttered office at the Tycho Institute on Luna, surrounded by holographic projections of crumbling alien glyphs and fractured star charts, he connected these disparate events to the fragmented, near-mythical records of the Aethel, a precursor race that had vanished from the galactic stage over 1,000,000 years ago. The Aethel spoke of a Savashnar, Aris explained, his voice earnest, his slight frame almost vibrating with conviction as he addressed the largely empty virtual hall of the Pan-Galactic Historical Society. His avatar, a slightly more polished version of his usually disheveled self, gestured towards a swirling, complex Aethel ideogram. Loosely translated, the Great Unraveling, a cyclical, entropic decay of fundamental cosmic constants. They believed it was a natural process, but one they had found a way to mitigate, to reharmonize. His audience consisted mostly of junior Rivent academics and a few bored data drones. The senior members, the ones whose opinions mattered, had logged off after his opening remarks. They built what their text referred to as the Kar Oth Maya. The Steward Spheres, Aris continued, undeterred. Planet-sized constructs, a network designed to act as cosmic regulators, and their operational guide, the Aethelian Compact, was not merely technical, but deeply philosophical, ethical. A shimmering avian Rivent, Prefect Lixian, their senior cultural attaché to the Terran Alliance, suddenly materialized in the primary guest slot, his expression one of polite, almost pitying amusement. Dr. Thorne, Lixian chirped, his voice like wind chimes. Your dedication to these charming Aethel fables is admirable. However, the Concord's extensive archival data shows no empirical evidence for these Steward Spheres beyond poetic allegory. The Aethel were, by all accounts, prone to metaphor. The Great Unraveling is likely a cultural narrative about societal decay, not a literal cosmic event. With respect, Prefect, Aris countered, his cheeks flushing slightly. The increasing stellar instabilities, the Xylosian crystal decay, the very fabric of spacetime showing minute, but measurable, degradation in certain sectors. These are not metaphors. I have correlated linguistic markers in Aethel texts with anomalous energy signatures detected in the uncharted Seraphina Veil. I believe a dormant Steward Sphere lies there, and I believe it might be our only hope to understand, and perhaps counter, what is happening to our galaxy. Lixian's feathery head crests ruffled in a gesture of patronizing dismissal. A fascinating narrative, Doctor, perhaps more suited for the entertainment networks than serious scientific discourse. The Concord will continue to address these anomalies with proven methodologies and established physics, not by chasing mythological artifacts in nebulous, pardon the pun, regions of space. With a final condescending nod, Prefect Lixian's avatar vanished. Aris sighed, the virtual hall now entirely empty. He was used to skepticism. Humanity was still a relatively young player on the galactic stage, their science considered robust, but their forays into xenoarchaeology often seen as overly romantic. Yet the Aethel texts, with their profound understanding of cosmic mechanics interwoven with deeply spiritual ethics, resonated with him in a way that the cold, sterile pragmatism of the Riven Concord never could. He looked again at the ideogram for Savashnar. The whispers of decay were growing louder across the galaxy. Someone had to listen. Someone had to remember the Aethel's forgotten promise. Despite Prefect Lixian's public dismissal, Aris Thorne's presentation had not gone entirely unnoticed. Within the Terran Alliance, a few influential figures in the Exploration Command and the Advanced Science Directorate, themselves increasingly concerned by the persistent, if subtle, reports of cosmic instability, saw merit in his unorthodox theories. The Seraphina Veil was uncharted, and humanity's mandate was, after all, to explore. Weeks of intense lobbying, data presentation, and navigating bureaucratic hurdles followed. Aris, more comfortable among ancient ruins than political chambers, found an unlikely ally in Admiral Gina Hansen, head of Exploration Command, a woman known for her calculated risks and a quiet belief in human intuition. Thus, Project Steward, Fallback as it was cautiously named, was born. The mission, to investigate anomalous energy readings within the Seraphina Veil, with Dr. Aris Thorne as chief scientific advisor. The ship assigned was the TAS Odyssey's Echo, one of the Alliance's newest long-range exploratory vessels, a marvel of human engineering. Her captain was Commander Eva Rostova. Rostova was a veteran of a dozen deep space assignments, known for her sharp mind, unwavering composure under pressure, and a healthy skepticism for anything that couldn't be verified by at least 3 independent sensor readings. She was, in many ways, the antithesis of Aris Thorne's scholarly idealism. Dr. Thorne, Rostova said, her voice crisp and professional, during their first mission briefing aboard the Odyssey's Echo as it underwent final outfitting at Earth Station Prometheus. The bridge was a hive of controlled activity, technicians running final checks. "I've read your papers. Impressive linguistic work. The Aethel clearly had a complex cosmology." She paused, her gaze direct. "My primary concern is the safety of this ship and its crew. The Seraphina Veil is designated a Level 4 hazard zone, uncharted, unstable, with significant gravitic and radiological anomalies. We will investigate your energy signatures. We will gather data. But if the situation becomes untenable, my responsibility is to bring us home." Aris nodded, appreciating her candor. "Understood, Commander. I believe the greatest risk, however, lies in not investigating." He gestured to a display showing the increasing frequency of galactic anomalies. "The Great Unraveling, it's accelerating." Rostova's expression didn't change, but Aris saw a flicker of something in her eyes. Not belief, perhaps, but a willingness to consider the improbable. "The Odyssey's Echo is equipped for almost any eventuality, Doctor. We have enhanced shielding, a state-of-the-art sensor suite, and a crew trained to handle the unexpected." As they prepared for departure, Aris dedicated every spare moment to the Aethelian Compact. The few surviving fragments he'd translated were cryptic, speaking of resonant frequencies of intent, the burden of guardianship borne willingly, and the alignment of purpose with the cosmic breath. It read more like a philosophical treatise than an operating manual. He was convinced the key to interacting with a Steward Sphere, if they found one, lay within these ethical-sounding guidelines. Their departure did not go unnoticed. Prefect Lixian, through official Rivent channels, conveyed a message to the Terran ambassador. It was a masterpiece of diplomatic condescension. The Rivent Concord notes with interest the Terran Alliance's commitment to exploring regions even its own stellar cartographers deem speculative. "We trust this expenditure of considerable resources into the pursuit of mythological echoes will, at the very least, provide some unique data for your archives. We wish you an uneventful journey." Commander Rostova read the communique on the bridge, a ghost of a smile playing on her lips. "Uneventful is rarely in our flight plan, Prefect," she muttered to herself. She turned to Aris. "Dr. Thorne, are your Aethel ghosts ready for a little shakedown cruise?" Aris, feeling the familiar thrum of the Odyssey's Echo's powerful engines, a sensation that always filled him with a mixture of trepidation and exhilaration, managed a genuine smile. "They've been waiting 1,000,000 years, Commander. I think they're ready." With a final clearance from Earth Station Prometheus, the Odyssey's Echo engaged its warp drive, a silver sliver against the backdrop of Sol, carrying a burden of forgotten lore and a sliver of human hope towards the unknown dangers of the Seraphina Veil. The Seraphina Veil lived up to its hazardous reputation. Upon exiting warp at its periphery, the Odyssey's echo was immediately buffeted by swirling ion storms that painted the viewscreen with auroral fire. Gravitic tides, unpredictable and powerful, tugged at the ship, forcing Commander Rostova and her bridge crew into a constant delicate dance of thrust and counter-thrust. Sensor readings were a chaotic mess, filled with phantom signals and a pervasive low-frequency thrum that seemed to resonate deep within the ship's structure. Helm, maintain course 075, feather thrusters through that gravitic shear. Rostova's voice was a calm, authoritative presence amidst the controlled chaos of the bridge. Engineering, report on shield integrity after that last ion burst. Shields holding at 82%, Commander, came the reply from Chief Engineer Miles Corbin. But this veil is chewing on them like a hungry vorpal cat. Advise minimizing exposure to direct storm fronts. Aris Thorne, strapped into his science station, found himself gripping his console, a purely instinctual reaction to the ship's lurching. He was, however, also fascinated. Commander, he called out, these ion currents, they're not entirely random. There are patterns, almost like channels. The Aethel texts spoke of sunnaral or star rivers within such nebulae, pathways their vessels used. Rostova, while expertly correcting a sudden yaw, spared him a glance. Can your star rivers get us to those energy signatures you're chasing any faster, Doctor? Potentially, Aris said, rapidly cross-referencing Aethel astronomical charts with the Odyssey's echo sensor data. If we can align with the dominant current, there, a convergence point, bearing 113. It should offer a slightly more stable passage and leads directly towards the projected source of the anomalous readings. Rostova considered it for a moment, her eyes scanning the complex telemetry. Helm, new course 113. Let's see if Dr. Thorne's ancient mariners knew their business. To the surprise of many on the bridge, Aris's theory proved correct. Aligning with the nearly invisible Star River smoothed their passage considerably, though the journey remained fraught with peril. The crew, a tight-knit group of Terran professionals, performed admirably, their training and teamwork evident in every coordinated action. They were a long way from the dismissive pronouncements of the Rivent Concord, out here in the raw, untamed frontier of the galaxy. It was during a brief lull in a particularly dense particle cloud that long-range sensors picked up new contacts. Commander, the tactical officer, Lieutenant Gia Sharma, reported, her voice suddenly tight. Multiple warp signatures detected, emerging at the Veil's edge. Khazrak Dominion Battle Group. Standard configuration for a heavy scout fleet. They're on an intercept course. Rostova's jaw tightened. The Khazrak Dominion, a militaristic reptilian empire, were notorious for their aggressive expansionism and their desire to acquire advanced technology by any means necessary. War Master Vrax, I presume, she muttered. Vrax was a particularly ruthless Khazrak commander with a reputation for opportunism. They must have tracked our warp signature. Seems Dr. Thorne's mythological echoes have attracted some unwanted attention. Aris felt a chill. The Khazrak wouldn't be interested in philosophy or ancient oaths. If there was something powerful in the Seraphina Veil, they would see it only as a weapon to be seized. Maintain course, Lieutenant Sharma, Rostova ordered, her voice betraying no alarm. Keep a close watch on their approach speed and vector. We're not here to pick a fight, but we won't be deterred. Dr. Thorne, how much further to your anomaly? Aris checked his instruments, the faint, structured energy readings they'd been tracking growing stronger, more defined. We're close, Commander, very close. The primary signature is just beyond that dark nebula cluster. The stakes had just been raised considerably. The Odyssey's echo was now in a race, not just against the hazards of the Seraphina Veil, but against a predatory rival. The secrets of the Aethel, if they existed, were about to have more than one claimant. Emerging from the swirling chaos of the dark nebula cluster, the crew of the Odyssey's echo fell into a collective, stunned silence. Before them, dwarfing their vessel, hung a perfect sphere, easily the size of a small moon. Its surface was a seamless expanse of an unknown, obsidian-like material that seemed to drink the faint light of the veil, reflecting nothing. It was utterly inert, yet it exuded an aura of immense antiquity and dormant, unimaginable power. This was unmistakably a Steward Sphere. By all the stars. Lieutenant Sharma breathed from the tactical station, her usual composure momentarily. Lost, Aris Thorne felt a profound sense of vindication, mixed with an almost sacred awe. "It's real," he whispered, his eyes fixed on the colossal artifact. An Aethel Kar Othmaya. Commander Rostova, though her expression remained stoic, leaned forward in her command chair, her gaze intense. "Magnificent," she admitted quietly. "Sensor readings, Doctor?" "Off the charts, Commander," Aris replied, his fingers flying across his console. "Exotic matter composition beyond anything in our databases. It's radiating a faint, incredibly complex energy pattern, a sort of heartbeat, but it's definitely dormant. Or waiting." Rostova nodded. "Standard first contact protocols, cautious approach. Lieutenant Sharma, attempt a hailing sequence on all known Aethel frequencies derived from Dr. Thorne's research. Engineering, prepare a low-intensity active scan, but do not engage without my direct order." The Odyssey's echo moved slowly, respectfully, towards the silent sentinel. The hailing sequences, complex mathematical and linguistic patterns theorized to be Aethel communication baselines, elicited no response. The sphere remained impassive, a monument to a forgotten age. "No reply, Commander," Sharma reported after several attempts. "Let's try a more direct approach," Rostova decided, her pragmatism reasserting itself. "Science team, attempt to interface with those energy patterns Dr. Thorne is tracking. See if we can get a handshake, establish some kind of rudimentary data link. Use standard Rivent-conquered first contact algorithms. They're the most comprehensive we have for unknown intelligences." The ship's powerful science arrays focused on the sphere, transmitting complex logical queries and encrypted data packets designed to solicit a response from any advanced artificial intelligence. For several tense minutes, nothing happened. Then, a ripple seemed to pass over the sphere's obsidian surface. Not a physical change, but a subtle distortion in the energy field surrounding it. "Commander," Aris exclaimed, "it's reacting, but not positively." Alarms suddenly blared across the bridge. "Energy spike from the sphere," Sharma shouted. "It's generating a localized dampening field. Our systems, they're fluctuating." "Engineering, report," Rostova snapped. "Power output dropping across all primary systems, Commander." Corbin's voice was strained. "It's like it's suffocating our energy flow. Shields are weakening." "Fall back," Rostova ordered immediately. "Maintain a safe distance. Clearly it doesn't appreciate the Rivent approach." As the Odyssey's echo retreated, the dampening field subsided, their systems slowly returning to normal. Aris looked grim. "The Aethelian Compact," he said, his voice heavy with realization. "It specifically warns against interactions of demand or forceful inquisition. It speaks of needing alignment of purpose. The Concord's protocols are based on logical dominance, on establishing parameters. That's antithetical to what the Aethel stood for." Just as the immediate crisis with the sphere seemed to pass, a new one announced itself. "Commander," Sharma reported, her voice urgent, "Khazrak fleet has entered sensor range. They've detected the sphere. War Master Vrax is hailing us." On the main view screen, the angular, predatory face of a Khazrak appeared. War Master Vrax, his reptilian eyes gleaming with avarice, his mandibles clicking in barely suppressed excitement. "Terran vessel," Vrax hissed, his voice a dry, rasping sound. "You have found something interesting. The Dominion thanks you for your scouting efforts. This Aethel relic is now under Khazrak protection. Withdraw, or be designated as salvage." Rostova's eyes narrowed. "This is an uncharted system, War Master. The Terran Alliance is conducting peaceful scientific exploration. This artifact is of galactic historical significance, not a prize of war." Vrax let out a sound that might have been a Khazrak chuckle. "Significance, yes. It radiates power. Power the Dominion will put to significant use. Your choice, Commander. Leave or join the Aethel in oblivion. The silent sentinel hung between them, a colossal enigma, its secrets locked away, and now the object of a dangerous confrontation. The path to understanding, Aris knew, lay not in force, but in a forgotten philosophy. The challenge was convincing a dormant giant and a hungry predator of that fact. The ultimatum from War Master Vrax hung heavy in the recycled air of the Odyssey's Echoes Bridge. Commander Rostova's expression was like granite. Lieutenant Sharma, maintain a full sensor lock on the Kizrak fleet. Do not power weapons, but ensure all defensive systems are at peak readiness. Communications. Inform War Master Vrax that we are a scientific vessel and will not be surrendering historical artifacts to military appropriation. We will defend ourselves if fired upon. While Rostova managed the immediate Kizrak threat, Aris Thorne was lost in the linguistic labyrinth of the Aethelian Compact. The sphere's defensive reaction to their Rivent-inspired approach had confirmed his deepest suspicions. This wasn't about cracking a code. It was about understanding a worldview. It's not about what we ask of it, but what we offer, Aris mused, aloud pacing his small science alcove. He projected several Aethel glyphs, their elegant curves and intersections seeming to shift and flow. The compact speaks of Tharakavath, the shared breath or interconnected will. It implies a symbiotic relationship, not a master-servant or user-tool dynamic. It requires empathy. He cross-referenced the Aethel concepts with humanity's own rich tapestry of ethical and philosophical traditions. He found echoes of the compact in ancient Stoic ideals of cosmic duty, in Buddhist principles of interconnectedness, in the emergent ethics of compassionate artificial intelligence being debated back on Earth. The Aethel, it seemed, had codified a universal understanding of responsible coexistence. Suddenly, a klaxon blared. Kizrak probe launched, Sharma announced. High speed, direct trajectory for the Steward Sphere. It's emitting aggressive, high-frequency scanning pulses. Vrax isn't waiting, Rostova bit out. He's trying to force a reaction or map its internal structure for weaknesses. Before they could react further, the Steward Sphere pulsed again, a deeper, more resonant thrum than before. A wave of focused energy, almost invisible but carrying immense force, shot out and struck the Kizrak probe. The probe didn't explode. It simply deactivated, its systems fried, tumbling lifelessly into the void. The same energy wave washed over the Odyssey's echo, and for a terrifying moment their lights flickered and main power dipped precariously before Corbin's team managed to stabilize it. Report, Rostova commanded, her knuckles white on her armrests. Power stabilizing, Commander, Corbin yelled back. But that pulse was surgical. It targeted the probe specifically and only gave us a glancing blow. The sphere is definitely not inert, and it doesn't like being poked by the Kizrak any more than it liked our Rivent knock on the door. Aris felt a surge of adrenaline. That's it, he exclaimed. The compact mentions actions of preservation precede offerings of communion. The sphere is defending itself and by extension the principles it embodies. It's waiting for an interaction that aligns with those principles. He turned to Rostova, his eyes alight. Commander, we need to show it we understand. We need to make an offering, not a demand. We need to take an unspoken oath. Rostova studied him, then the impassive sphere, then the sensor readings showing the Kizrak fleet beginning to advance. An oath, Doctor? What kind of oath can a starship make? An oath of intent, Commander, Aris urged. The Aethel believed actions powered by genuine intent resonated across the cosmos. We can't just say the words. We have to be the compact, even if only for a moment. We need to transmit something that shows we value balance, that we're willing to be guardians, not exploiters, that we understand the burden it carries. War Master Vrax's harsh voice suddenly cut through the comms again. Terrans, your interference with Dominion property, that probe, will not be tolerated. Prepare to be boarded or prepare for annihilation. Kizrak cruisers began to break formation, angling for attack runs. Rostova made a split-second decision. Dr. Thorne, you have my full support. Prepare your offering. Lieutenant Sharma, tactical display. Engineering, give me evasive maneuvers. Pattern Delta 7. Let's give the good doctor the time he needs. We'll show the Kizrak what happens when you try to bully a Terran crew protecting something worthwhile. The Odyssey's echo, a vessel of science prepared to dance with wolves, while its scholar prepared to whisper philosophy to an ancient, silent god. While the Odyssey's echo became a silver blur, expertly piloted by Commander Rostova through the treacherous gravitic currents of the Seraphina Veil to evade the initial Kizrak volleys, Aris Thorne worked with a desperate focus. The bridge was a cacophony of tactical callouts, engine thrusts, and the jarring shudders of near misses from Kizrak plasma bolts. This offering, Doctor. Rostova's voice cut through the din, remarkably calm. It had better be more persuasive than their disruptor cannons. It has to be, Commander, Aris replied, his fingers flying across his console. He wasn't inputting commands. He was curating a stream of pure human experience, a digital embodiment of the Aethelian Compact as he now understood it. He selected recordings of Earth's most profound music, the heart-wrenching sorrow of a lone cello, the triumphant swell of a symphony orchestra finding harmony and complexity, the simple, honest folk songs that spoke of love, loss, and the enduring strength of community. He added visual sequences, time lapses of forests growing, galaxies forming, a child taking its first steps, cycles of creation and renewal. He included excerpts from humanity's greatest philosophical inquiries into ethics, responsibility, and the search for meaning, translated not into ethel linguistics, but into fundamental mathematical ratios that represented patterns of thought. Most importantly, he worked with the ship's medical officer and a reluctant psychotechnician to create a narrow, focused projection of the crew's unshielded emotional state. Their fear, yes, but also their determination, their awe of the Steward Sphere, their shared desire to understand and protect, not to conquer or exploit. It was a raw, honest transmission of human intent. "It's ready, Commander," Aris announced, his voice hoarse. "A package of human resonance, aimed directly at the Steward Sphere, on your command." "We're running out of Veil to hide in, Doctor," Rostova gritted out as a plasma bolt seared past their port view screen, rattling the entire ship. "War Master, Vrax is like a rabid Vorkarian hound on a scent. Do it. Let's hope your Ethel appreciate the sentiment." "Transmitting now," Aris confirmed. The Odyssey's echo, while dodging and weaving, turned its main communications array towards the colossal, silent sphere and began to broadcast its unique offering. It wasn't a demand, nor a plea, nor a string of data. It was a whisper of shared existence, an acknowledgement of the burden of guardianship, a testament to the search for balance that resonated through the Aethelian Compact and, Aris hoped, through the core of human aspiration. For a breathless moment, nothing happened. The Kizrak cruisers pressed their attack, their fire becoming more accurate. Warning lights flashed across the bridge. Then, the Steward Sphere responded. It wasn't a sudden blast of energy or a defensive pulse. Instead, a deep, resonant hum emanated from its core, a sound that vibrated not just through the ship, but through the very bones of the crew. The complex energy patterns Aris had been tracking on its surface intensified, swirling into intricate luminous geometries that mirrored some of the mathematical ratios in their broadcast. The obsidian surface seemed to soften, to become almost translucent in places, revealing glimpses of unimaginably complex internal structures, now glowing with a soft golden light. And then, the impossible happened. Localized gravitic distortions precisely targeted began to form around the pursuing Kizrak vessels. Not destructive, but disruptive. One Kizrak cruiser found its engines sputtering as its artificial gravity fluctuated wildly. Another was gently nudged off course, its targeting locks failing. The distortions were subtle, elegant, almost playful, yet utterly effective in throwing the Kizrak attack into disarray. "Commander," Lieutenant Sharma cried out, her voice a mixture of disbelief and triumph. "The sphere, it's helping us. It's running interference on the Kizrak." Aris watched, tears welling in his eyes. It understood. The Aethelian Compact, the unspoken oath of resonant purpose, had been accepted. The steward wasn't just a machine. It was a consciousness, ancient and profound, and it had recognized a kindred spirit, however young and flawed, in humanity. War Master, Frax, his flagship momentarily caught in a gravitic eddy that sent his tactical display haywire, let out an enraged hiss over the comms. "What sorcery is this, Terrans? What have you done?" Rostova allowed herself a grim smile. "It's called resonance of purpose, War Master," she transmitted back, her voice cool and clear. "Something your Dominion clearly wouldn't understand." She turned to Aris. "Dr. Thorne, I believe you just made first contact in a way no one in this galaxy has managed for 1,000,000 years. The great Steward Sphere, silent for eons, was beginning to awaken. The awakening of the Steward Sphere was not a cataclysmic event, but a gradual, majestic unfolding. The golden light from its core intensified, and the intricate patterns on its surface pulsed with a calm, steady rhythm. Then, with a resonance that transcended mere sound, it emitted a vast, coherent wave of energy. This was no weapon, but a harmonizing frequency that swept through the Seraphina Veil and far beyond into the local sector. On the bridge of the Odyssey's echo, sensor readings went wild in a new way. "Commander Dr. Thorne," Anya Sharma, the lead science officer, reported, her voice filled with awe. "The energy wave from the sphere, it's interacting with the ambient space-time fabric. Those entropic decay markers we've been tracking, for the Great Unraveling, they're reversing, locally at least. Stellar energy outputs are stabilizing. The very constants of physics seem to be retuning. The Great Unraveling, the slow cosmic death, was being actively counteracted. The steward was fulfilling its ancient purpose. The same wave had a different effect on the Khazrak Dominion fleet. Their advanced weaponry, dependent on precisely calibrated energy systems, sputtered and died. Engines choked, targeting systems went dark, and navigation became erratic. War Master Vrax, his predatory confidence shattered, watched his fleet become a collection of helpless, drifting metal hulks. The steward's energy was not destructive, but it was utterly disruptive to technologies not in harmony with its fundamental principles. There was no malice in it, simply an overwhelming recalibration. With a final, furious but ultimately impotent hiss, Vrax ordered a full retreat, his ships limping away on emergency thrusters, their primary systems inert. The Seraphina Veil fell, silent once more, save for the gentle thrum of the awakened steward. Then a new transmission, clear and unbelievably complex, flowed directly from the sphere into the Odyssey's Echo's primary computer core and into Aris Thorne's mind. It was not just data, it was understanding. He saw the vast network of Steward Spheres scattered across the galaxy, most dormant, some failing. He received the entirety of the Aethelian Compact, uncorrupted, a breathtaking tapestry of science, philosophy, art, and ethics, detailing the immense responsibility of cosmic stewardship. And with it, a clear, empathic sense of acknowledgement, of a burden shared, of an ancient promise finally, unexpectedly renewed. "It's given us everything," Aris whispered, tears streaming down his face, overwhelmed by the sheer scale of the revelation. "The full compact, a map of the network. It trusts us." Commander Rostova placed a hand on his shoulder. "You earned that trust, Aris. Humanity earned it." She turned to her communications officer. "Send a priority message to Terran Alliance. Command. Encrypt it with Omega-level clearance. Subject: the Aethelian Compact reclaimed. Attach all data logs from Dr. Thorne and the Sphere's transmission." She paused. "And send a courtesy copy of the unencrypted compact preface to Prefect Lixian of the Rivent Concord. No commentary." In the Rivent Concord's Grand Council chambers, Prefect Lixian received the transmission. He read the elegant, profound opening lines of the Aethelian Compact, lines that spoke of universal responsibility and the interconnectedness of all existence. He then saw the attached sensor telemetry from the Seraphina Veil, the irrefutable evidence of the Steward Sphere's activation, the localized reversal of the Great Unraveling, and the ignominious retreat of a Khazrak battle fleet, not by force of Terran arms but by the will of an awakened Aethel construct. The prefect's feathery crests, usually so artfully arranged, drooped in stunned, disbelieving silence. The mythological echoes had roared. The Odyssey's echo, its mission, far exceeding any conceivable expectation, prepared for the long journey home. They left the Seraphina Veil not as conquerors or mere discoverers, but as inheritors of a profound, almost overwhelming responsibility. The galaxy was still vast. The threat of the Great Unraveling still loomed across countless stars, and the task of understanding and potentially reawakening an entire network of Steward Spheres was monumental. But humanity, the relative newcomers, the species that still dared to blend science with philosophy, logic with empathy, had shown they were capable of understanding a forgotten language and honoring an ancient oath. They were no longer just explorers. They had become, in a way none could have foreseen, keepers of lost knowledge, and the unlikely stewards of a steward's gambit. A new dawn, born from an old promise, was breaking across the stars.